Say the Semantics, episode 234. It is November 3rd, 2023. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on for a bit about some shit. Recording this on another Friday. Got another long weekend off, which is really nice. Had a nice little excursion last weekend, visited some friends. It was a good time. And I'm essentially doing the same thing again this weekend. So I'm kind of spoiling myself in that regard. So, but it's nice. It's good to continually sort of take these longer breaks, because who knows when I'll be able to get these in the near future. Enjoy myself, kind of, for have some things to kind of enjoy for the remaining part of this year, and then kind of go into the next year with a bit more, I suppose, energy and shit. Have a bit more of a better, I don't know, just a better approach, I suppose. Who knows? But it's just a bit of a recharge. I think is really good. I'm very much trying to stay away from my phone and all this other shit. I've found that it hasn't been super great for my general well-being, and considering that I am using like a computer for like 8 hours, at the very least 8 hours of the day, for work purposes, and then on top of that I use my phone to scroll through Reddit and shit. Like, it's not like a great combination of things. So I'm very, it's like when I have the time to not use these devices and stay offline, I'm gonna do it to like kind of the fullest. And so yeah, I feel that I've done that for last weekend, and I'm kind of looking to do the same for this weekend as well. Just really stay off of this shit and not get too embroiled in fucking just scrolling. I am pretty good about it. Like, I don't have TikTok, but I do use YouTube and Reddit, which are kind of my main two sources of internet use. And I just really I really just want to kind of mitigate that and minimize using these things, because I feel, again, like, I really do feel like it hasn't felt super great, just kind of continually using them. So try to replace that with other activities, whether it's like reading, or I guess listening to music has a bit more of like a passive approach. Video games, I feel like, is like a good one, because like you're not it's not you're getting away from like social media and shit like that. So I think that could be good as well. Obviously you could argue that it's not great in terms of your for your eyesight or whatever, but I think it's better than just going endless, just keep going on whatever your kind of poison, pick your poison, right? Your poison of choice in terms of which social media app you end up using the most. So yeah, that's a big goal, and that's something that I want to kind of continue to carry forward even after these sort of small trips, even if it is pretty difficult at times. But I just think it would be really beneficial for me to just minimize using my phone and all that stuff. So I guess you could say that's a goal of mine moving forward. Anyways, let's talk a little basketball. I ended up going to the Warriors game on Wednesday, where they played against the Kings with some friends, and it was a great time. Clay hitting the game winner, being in the arena during that experience was something else. It's just a different vibe, man. It just hits different. I think that there are it worked out because the game was good and there was a lot of tension in the last couple of minutes. I think that, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before, I think overall, in terms of just kind of the viewing experience itself, or just watching the game, like, you can't really go wrong with watching it on TV. Uh, I think that when you are going to the game, you are paying for to be within that kind of atmosphere. That's really, it's really palpable when you're there and you're amongst all the thousands of other fans. It's just a different environment, you know what I mean? So that is ultimately what you're sort of paying for with that experience. The tickets are still fucking expensive. That I'm not gonna deny. But I think that you can there's just seeing sports live is just a completely different it's just a completely different experience from seeing it on the TV. Even if that is my preference, like just a once in a while sport outing is a good time. Even though I'm going to quite a lot of sporting events coming up. I got another Warriors game I'm going to next month, so I've got those to look forward to. So those should be exciting. But yeah, game was great. I haven't been as active in terms of catching up with every single game, of course, because that's impossible. But I sort of been passively keeping track of what's been kind of going around in the league. I think it is easy to get wrapped up in, extremely, like, you could say, like, reactionary or very, very, kind of providing your first initial overreactions of the very early season. Like, most teams are only like 4 or 5 games in, and people are already coming to conclusions like, oh, Memphis is cooked, they haven't won a single game, even though they're missing like 3 key players. Like, of course they're gonna be struggling a little bit, so I think it's too early to really come to any definitive conclusions, except that the Warriors are going to win the championship this year. That's probably the only one that I feel is pretty definitive. No, they've had a really good start for sure. It seems like everything is going very well. Things are, on pace and everything to sort of, if they can kind of keep this momentum up, that would be great. They're on a 4-game winning streak. It's a really good start for sure. But yeah, I think just overall, it's good to sort of keep expectations to kind of a reasonable extent, and not to jump to any overarching conclusions, because there are teams that are still trying to figure things out. There's still, the teams that have essentially flipped their entire roster, right? Like, you could look at the Suns, you could look at the Rockets too. The Rockets added quite a lot of new pieces. The Bucks, obviously, with Dame. There's a lot of teams that have completely changed the makeup, completely changed their makeup, and I think that is bound to result in some hindrances, and it's going to be a bit difficult to see through the potential of these teams in comparison to teams that have some form of consistency that they've had over year to year, like the Warriors, right? Like, in terms of roster shakeups, like, the biggest thing is really just upgrading our bench, but for our core is intact, right? So I think we have that advantage over a lot of other teams, and obviously, of course, championship pedigree and all that stuff helps too. But I think having an identity that's sort of carried over from year to year is a very strong basis for a team being able to perform well in the early season, I think. But yeah, that's sort of like my general view of how things have gone through in this very early part of the season. It is fun to speculate and to like kind of jump to conclusions and stuff like that, but ultimately it's sort of like, all right, let's kind of take a step back. And I think for teams where maybe they're not performing as well as they thought they would be, like like the Bucks or whatever, I think for their fans it's probably just best to temper expectations a little bit, because it's so easy to buy into the hype and look at the on paper it's like, oh shit, this should be like a cakewalk of sorts, but it's really not. It's not as easy as that goes. So I think that having a bit more of just I feel I'm very happy with how the season has started for the Warriors, but I'm still kind of like I was joking about the championship thing a little bit. I have I'm still kind of like wary because of how the roster is constructed. Like, of course, we have a very good team this year, and considering how things are going, I think we can continue to work with that. But I still am kind of carrying with the notion that this is a very old roster. It's possible that durability is a big factor in terms of how well we succeed in the regular season and of course in the playoffs. So I'm just kind of being like, okay, we are performing very well at the moment, but it's not gonna there's gonna be points where we might doubt it, and this happens every year, man. It's just kind of a cyclical nature. If we ever fall into some kind of lull during the schedule, maybe we're on like a 3-4 game losing streak, it's like, oh, then people start panicking and shit. Fire Kerr, trade CP, like it's gonna happen, you know what I mean? There's gonna be periods where those things happen and people panic and shit, and so I think it's best to there's again, for every team there's gonna be periods where they doubt the construction of the roster, and it's like there are these expectations placed on their performance. There's a lot of expectations for the Thunder right this year, and for them to be able to make a leap. They've looked really good in some games, but in other games not so much, right? They got blown out by the Nuggets. And it's like that's a team that they're going to be contending with, and what does it say when they lose by like 40 points, 40 points, against a team that they're trying to match up with. Like, so it's I think that it's just while it is sort of exciting to look forward, into the future and kind of see like how things might project, I think it's just it's good to sort of be a bit wary of these expectations, because it's probably not gonna pan out the exact way that you want it to. Outside of basketball, I haven't played a lot of games recently since I've been out and about. But I played a little bit of Super Mario Wonder last night. I did some levels, kind of making my way towards the end of the game, and then I'm gonna do the secret levels and try to maybe do a bit of 100% kind of thing, where I try to collect all of the seeds and the max out on all of the badges and stuff like that. So just kind of making my way through it, not rushing or anything, but it just really just taking in the levels and all that. It's been a great time, man. It's been a really fun game. Star Ocean, the second story came out yesterday, I believe, and it seems like the reception has been great. It's been really it's been really good so far. I talked about it briefly when the game was first announced in a direct, I believe back in September, or was it June? I think it might have been June when it was first announced. And yeah, this definitely caught my eye. It's sort of in the style of 2D, 3D, but I think it looks like the environment it seems to be a bit more leaning kind of in the realistic side of things, like 3D models, a little bit more with 2D sprites for the characters, sort of in like the best example I can think of is like Xenogears, right? And for one, it looks beautiful, and again, based on the reception, I've only heard good things about it. So there it is, man, another game to add to my continually growing list of RPGs and just games in generals that I would like to play, you know. It's another game on that list. So I'm never running out, dude. I'm never running out. And then once in a while, I'll make like a surprise purchase like Mario Wonder and then get into that. So I don't have to worry about not finding a game that I want to play, because I still have so many that I have yet to try, and I've wanted to for years now. But this one's going on the list too, man. It looks really good. Apparently it's kind of considered a classic in the JRPG genre, kind of alongside, you know, maybe not as well known, but sort of in line with games like, you know, Final Fantasy VII and you know, a lot of the other kind of classic Square games back in the day, because I believe it was originally was it a PS2 or PS1 game, I believe. So it's one of those classic games that was remastered for this generation, and it looks to be like a complete glow up, just in terms of, you know, of course the graphics and the style of animation and whatnot, but also, you know, quality of life stuff. Just, you know, I've watched a review and read up on some of the critical reception that it's received, and yeah, it seems to be very well done. So I'm excited to check it out in the future. I don't know when, like how high on my list of priorities is this? Like, I don't know. Like, would I be leaning towards this game more than, say, Baten Kaitos? I don't fucking know. Maybe I'm thinking a bit more about Baten Kaitos because of Monolith Soft, but, you know, we'll see, man. There's a lot of shit out there. So if I don't get, I'm not gonna get to it this year for sure, but next year could be another really great game, another great year of gaming like this year has, right? I mentioned how many like really good games that I've played this year, but next year, again, I'm probably still going to be playing through 13 Sentinels if I don't beat that by this, you know, by the end of this year. And then after that, it's like, man, what do I even do? It's like, what do I want to play, right? That might be a bit too far ahead to look forward to, but I'm just thinking. I'm like, I got a lot of options and a lot of games that I can consider next year that I could pick up and play. So yeah, it's really exciting, and it's just been like packed, man. This year's just been packed with games. So it's like I'm gonna be basically playing through my backlog of games that came out both like this year and last year, right? So I don't even know. I'm like, at least for, you know, Nintendo purposes, I have no idea what's really coming out next year other than that, you know, Thousand Year Door. That's another game, the Thousand Year Door remake that's coming out for the Switch. So it's like it's just more games. And then also Super Mario RPG coming out this month as well. That's coming up real soon. So it's like, okay, fuck, man. What do I do with all this time that I don't have? You know what I mean? So, I just gotta quit my job. That's really what it's gonna come down to. So, but again, you know, a lot of people are speculating that next year the Switch 2 is gonna come out, or you know, some version of the next generation Switch is gonna come out, and I think that that's definitely possible for sure. I think that a lot of that kind of is heavily hinted at based on what's been shown at conventions and stuff like that. So, again, you know, like I talked about this before, but I really wouldn't be surprised if it comes out next year. So there's a lot of uncertainty there. Like, I don't know if I see myself buying a new Switch. Yeah, I just don't know. There's just a lot to consider on that front. So yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of, I mean, not uncertainty, but it's just not super clear like what's gonna, you know, happen next year. And I have so many other games that I already, you know, have to catch up or want to catch up on. So I'm not super concerned. It is exciting to look forward to a new system launch for sure. But in terms of purchasing and getting into that, that's something that I might hold off on until I see like what the launch lineup is, and of course if backwards compatibility is a thing. So there are things to consider for sure. Anyways, just wanted to pop in, do a short little pod this week. Yeah, just to catch up on a few things. I've been sort of, you know, busy with, you know, doing these kind of trips, which has been nice. And yeah, that's probably going to do it for this episode. This has been Save the Semantics, signing off.